You ever find out where you stand in your own marriage by what kind of gift you're given? I found out on my birthday, and it burned. Take a moment to hear my story, and if it touches your heart in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know who might need to hear this today. I'm Erica. I work long shifts as a nurse, usually on my feet for 12 hours straight. Logan, my husband, has a stable job in finance. We've been married for 5 years. Things haven't always been easy, but I believed we were building a life together, side by side. At least, that's what I thought. A few months ago, my car finally gave out. I'd had it since nursing school, and I'd been dropping hints for weeks about needing a new one. Not even anything fancy, just something reliable so I could get to work without praying at every stoplight. I mentioned it during dinner, while folding laundry, even while we were watching car commercials. Logan nodded, said things like, "We'll see," or "Let's wait for the right time." Then came my birthday. I was hopeful. I won't lie, I really thought maybe, just maybe, he'd listened. I came home from a long shift, exhausted but excited. There was a ribbon on the front door and a gift bag on the table. I looked outside. Nothing. No car. He smiled and said, "Wait here." Logan went outside, and I followed him to the driveway, heart pounding. And there it was, a brand new SUV. Sleek, shiny, with all the features. My mouth opened. Then he said the words I'll never forget. "It's for Mom. She's been needing something safer to drive." I froze. Then he handed me the gift bag and said, "And this is for you." I opened it slowly, hands shaking. Inside was a high-end blender. Expensive, sure, but not thoughtful. Not after everything. Not after the months I'd been struggling to get to work in a car that barely started. I smiled barely, said thank you. He kissed my cheek like everything was fine. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, turning the blender box in my hand. "I thought maybe the car was for me," I whispered. Logan shrugged. "Babe, your car still runs. Mom needed it more. And you love smoothies, right?" I didn't say anything else. What could I say? I just lay down and turned off the light. But something inside me didn't sleep that night. Something woke up. Something quiet and painful. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the start of everything changing. After the birthday blender, I started paying closer attention. And once I really opened my eyes, I couldn't unsee it. Logan didn't just love his mom, he lived for her approval. Every major decision, she was always part of it. Sometimes I'd find out after the fact. Like when I noticed money missing from our joint account. I asked him, and he casually said, "Oh, I sent some to Mom. She had some bills." No heads up. No discussion. Every Sunday, like clockwork, Logan went to Renee's house. I used to go too, early in our marriage, but she'd always make these little comments, like how I didn't cook the way Logan liked, or how she used to iron his shirts just the way he preferred. At first, I brushed it off, but it kept happening, and Logan never said a word to defend me. Eventually, I stopped going. Logan never asked why. One night, we were talking about vacation plans. I suggested a quiet beach trip, just the two of us. He nodded, but the next day, he told me he had asked his mom for suggestions. His mom. For our vacation. I laughed. Why would you ask her? He looked confused. She knows good spots. She always booked our family trips. Family. That word started to sting. Because more and more, I didn't feel like I was part of it. I started remembering things from before we were married. Like how Renee never smiled in our engagement photos. How she called me that nurse girl at the rehearsal dinner. How she once told Logan, loud enough for me to hear, "You could have done better, you know." And Logan just chuckled. It was like a puzzle coming together, except the picture wasn't beautiful. It was ugly and lonely. I was married, but I felt single. Logan and Renee were the real team. I was just there. One night I asked him, "If you had to choose between us, who would it be?" He didn't answer right away. He just said, "Why do you always make things difficult?" That told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't his partner. I was in the way. Our 3rd wedding anniversary was coming up, and even after everything, the blender, the car, the constant Sundays at Renee's, I wanted to try. Maybe I was foolish, or maybe I still believed Logan could change. So I planned a special dinner. I made his favorite meal, lit candles, even bought a new dress I couldn't really afford. I told myself, this is your marriage. Fight for it. I waited, and waited. The food got cold. The candles melted down. I sat at the table checking my phone, heart sinking with every minute. Finally, 2 hours late, Logan walked through the door like it was any other day. "Sorry," he said, tossing his keys on the counter. Mom's sink was leaking. She needed me. That was his excuse. On our anniversary, he looked around at the table like it surprised him. "Oh, you made dinner?" I didn't answer. I just sat down, and he joined me after washing up. He picked at the food while I pushed mine around the plate, trying not to cry. Then, with a proud smile, he handed me a small envelope. "A spa coupon," he said. "Figured you'd like a massage or something." I stared at it. It wasn't even a full spa day, just a single session. No note, no flowers, No thought. Thanks, I whispered. Then, as if he hadn't already ruined the night, he said casually, Mom's new couch looks great, by the way. We got it last weekend. She picked one of those fancy recliners, too. Worth every penny. I blinked. You bought her new furniture? Yeah. From our account. She needed it. He said it so easily, like it didn't even matter. Like it wasn't our money. Like I didn't even exist in the equation. Logan, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. You used our joint savings without asking me? He shrugged. It's not a big deal. You're overreacting again. That word again. Like I was the problem. I couldn't eat anymore. I stood up quietly, cleared the plates, and went to our bedroom. He didn't follow me. He just stayed on the couch watching some show, probably texting Renee. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My heart was heavy, my chest tight. I didn't cry loudly. I just let the tears roll, silently, into the pillow. Happy anniversary to me. I started feeling invisible in my own marriage. Every conversation with Logan felt one-sided. Every time I tried to express how I felt, he brushed it off or acted like I was being dramatic. I wasn't. I was just tired of feeling like I came second, or third, or not at all. One evening, after another weekend he spent entirely at Renee's, I called my older sister, Jenna. I hadn't told her everything before, maybe because I didn't want to admit it out loud. But that night, I finally broke down. I feel like I don't even exist to him anymore, I whispered. Jenna didn't try to sugarcoat anything. Erica, he doesn't respect you, and he's not going to change unless you make him. You have to protect yourself now. Her words hit hard, but they were true. That night, I started writing everything down, dates, amounts he transferred to Renee, screenshots of unanswered texts, even notes about when he canceled plans with me to help his mom. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I needed to stop pretending everything was fine. Days passed, then weeks. One afternoon, while tidying up, I came across a small envelope in Logan's drawer. It was a card. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. It was from Renee. Thank you, it read, for not letting Erica stand in the way of what really matters. I knew you'd always choose me. I sat down on the bed, the card trembling in my hands. That wasn't just some innocent thank you. That was a message, a confirmation of what I had feared for a long time. Renee didn't just dislike me. She saw me as an obstacle, something that needed to be pushed aside. And Logan, he agreed with her. He never defended me, never stood up for me, never even pretended to see my side. In that moment, something shifted inside me. The sadness was still there, but underneath it, a quiet anger started to grow. Not the kind that explodes. The kind that waits, watches, plans. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't dramatic. I was just forgotten, but not for long. After reading that thank you note from Renee, something inside me finally clicked. I had spent so long hoping Logan would notice me, love me the way he once did, or at least put me first once in a while. But I was done waiting. I didn't tell anyone, not even Jenna, but that same week, I walked into a local credit union and opened my own bank account. It felt like breathing fresh air. I started putting aside every bit of extra money I could. I volunteered for overtime shifts at the hospital, night shifts, double weekends, anything that would let me stash away more. Every time Logan asked why I was working so much, I just smiled and said, "We've got bills, right?" He didn't care enough to ask more. During one particularly long shift, a coworker suggested I talk to someone professionally. At first, I hesitated. I didn't think I had time, but something told me to try. I found a therapist online, someone who specialized in relationship trauma. I booked a session on my day off, quietly, without telling a soul. Sitting on that couch, I finally let the walls down. I talked about how Logan used to hold my hand at the movies, how his voice would soften when he said my name, how I used to feel safe. Then I told her how I felt now, like furniture in my own life, useful but unnoticed. The therapist listened. Then she asked a simple question that rattled me. What would life look like if you weren't with him anymore? At first, I couldn't answer. I hadn't let myself imagine it. But then I thought about how quiet and peaceful the house was when Logan wasn't home. I thought about Jenna's laugh, about painting, something I hadn't done in years, about mornings where I didn't have to beg for attention or pretend to be okay. And I smiled, just a little. One evening, after a long shift, I walked past a jewelry shop. Something in the window caught my eye, a small silver necklace, simple and elegant. I went in and bought it. No hesitation. It was the first gift I'd given myself in years. I didn't even wear it. I just brought it home, tucked it into the back of my drawer, and smiled. I wasn't ready to leave yet. Not fully, but I was getting ready. Quietly, carefully, piece by piece, I was building my way out. One quiet evening, after weeks of pretending everything was fine, I finally asked Logan about the money. My voice shook, but I kept it steady. Why is money from our joint account going to your mom without telling me? He didn't even blink. She needed it, he said, like that was enough. I pushed again, calm, direct. But we're supposed to be a team, Logan. You don't make these choices alone. That's when he snapped. He stood up, shouting that I was selfish, that I never appreciated what he did for his family. Then he said it, cold and sharp. You'll never understand what it's like to be a real family. Something broke inside me right then. I stood still as he kept going, but I couldn't hear a word. All I could think was, real family? Wasn't I supposed to be his family now? The next morning, I took a deep breath and drove to Renee's house. I hadn't been there in months, not since the last awkward dinner where she acted like I didn't exist. She opened the door with that same cold smile. Oh, it's you, she said. I didn't waste time. I know what's going on, I told her. You've been pulling Logan away from me piece by piece, and I want you to stop. She didn't flinch. In fact, she laughed, soft and smug. Honey, she said, you were never going to last. He's always been mine. Her words were like a slap, but I didn't show it. I just nodded, turned around, and walked away. My hands were shaking, but my mind had never been clearer. Logan and Renee had made their choice. And now I was going to make mine. I drove home in silence, no music, no tears. Just thoughts. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was focused. Calm. The kind of calm that comes before something big. A storm was coming, and this time, I wasn't going to be the one caught in the rain. That Friday morning, I packed a small suitcase, kissed Logan on the cheek, and told him I'd be gone for the weekend at a nursing conference. He barely looked up from his phone and muttered, "Text me when you get there." I nodded and walked out the door, heart pounding. But I wasn't going to a conference. Jenna was waiting for me in her car around the corner. She squeezed my hand and said, "Are you ready?" I wasn't sure if I was, but I nodded anyway. We drove in silence to a quiet hotel about 40 minutes away. I checked in under a different last name and took a deep breath as I entered the room. It was clean, simple, and peaceful. For the first time in years, I felt safe. That evening, I met with the lawyer Jenna had helped me find. I handed over the documents I had spent months collecting. Copies of bank transfers, texts, receipts, and even that thank you note from Renee. The lawyer looked through everything carefully, then gave me a slow, approving nod. "We can work with this," she said. "You've done your homework." We went over the divorce papers and discussed how to legally divide everything. Because of the way our joint account was set up, I was entitled to half, and I moved my portion into my private account the next morning. Not a penny more, not a penny less. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. Logan started calling me by late Saturday afternoon. First once, then 3 times, then 10. My phone vibrated nonstop, but I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. I wasn't going to explain myself any. I owed him nothing. I spent the rest of the weekend making quiet plans, looking at new apartments, jotting down things I'd need to pack when I returned home. I even walked by the lake near the hotel and just sat, breathing in the cool air. No noise. No tension. No one dismissing me like I was invisible. On Sunday night, I finally turned off my phone completely. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Not because she looked broken, but because she didn't. I smiled at her. For the first time in a long time, she looked strong. Logan walked into the house expecting the usual. Me in the kitchen, maybe cooking dinner or folding laundry. But the silence hit him first. Then he noticed the empty spaces. My shoes were gone from the hallway. The picture frames from the living room shelf, missing. The closet in our bedroom stood half empty, like someone had carefully packed and left without making a sound. On the kitchen counter, I left a note. Just one line. "Thanks for the blender. You'll need it now." That was it. Logan called me 5 times in the next 10 minutes. Then 10 more. I didn't pick up. I watched his name light up my phone screen, then fade again. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not fear. Just peace. He called Jenna next. I knew he would. She told me later that she answered just to say one thing. "She's done, Logan. And you earned it." Then she hung up. He didn't call her again. By Monday, word was spreading through our circle. Some friends were shocked. A few said they'd seen it coming. Logan told people I snapped out of nowhere, but those who knew me well, really knew me, didn't buy it. Quiet women don't break overnight. They break slowly. Then they disappear. At work, I felt lighter. I laughed with patience. I took a real lunch break. I looked people in the eye. My coworkers noticed. One even said, "Erica, you're glowing lately. What changed?" I just smiled. That night, in my small apartment with its secondhand couch and peeling wallpaper, I slept like a baby. No tossing. No staring at the ceiling wondering what I did wrong. No fake apologies waiting in the dark. Just peace. Logan kept texting. Long messages. Short ones. Voice notes. One said, "Can we just talk?" Another said, "You've made your point. Come home." But I didn't respond. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. And I had it. The divorce meeting was set for 10 a.m. sharp. I arrived early, dressed simply but confidently. My lawyer, Mr. Dalton, gave me a reassuring nod as we walked into the firm's conference room. The air was heavy, like everyone already knew a storm was coming. Logan strolled in 5 minutes late, wearing that same smug look he always wore when he thought he was winning. And right behind him, Renee, dressed in pearls like she was attending a luncheon, not her son's divorce proceedings. She didn't even look at me, just sat beside Logan and crossed her arms like she owned the place. The lawyers began. We went over assets, accounts, the house, and Logan's business. Renee whispered things into his ear like a coach feeding plays. I stayed quiet, calm. My time was coming. Then Mr. Dalton brought up the prenup. Logan leaned back in his chair, almost laughing. We already know how this ends. Erica gets what we agreed to. But Mr. Dalton wasn't rattled. Actually, he said, sliding a document across the table, we've discovered that the prenup was signed under misrepresented financial disclosure. Logan failed to disclose multiple accounts and business holdings at the time of signing. That, under law, renders the prenup void. The room went still. Logan's face paled. Renee dropped her smug expression like a glass hitting the floor. What is this nonsense? She hissed. My lawyer calmly continued. Erica is entitled to her fair share, half of all joint marital assets, including the business equity and, per property records, partial ownership of the second house Logan co-owned, the one Renee currently lives in. You can't do that, Renee shouted. That's my home. I finally spoke. No, Renee. It was always ours. You just never thought I'd find my voice. Logan looked stunned, his jaw tightening as the truth sank in. He tried to argue, but everything had already been documented: bank transfers, hidden accounts, even the way he used joint money to fund his mother's furniture without my consent. In the end, I got exactly what I was owed. And not just in money. I got silence, power, dignity. Renee stormed out of the room, muttering curses under her breath. Logan followed, slower, like the weight of reality had finally hit him. I walked out of that conference room with my lawyer beside me, my head high, my heart steady. No more blenders. No more forgotten birthdays. No more being the woman left behind. I was free. The wind from the lake brushed through the curtains of my little apartment, carrying the scent of summer and quiet. Life was finally still, peaceful. I had no one walking through the door late with excuses. No more cold shoulders. Just me, my dog Max, and the kind of calm I'd forgotten existed. It had been months since I left Logan. At first, it was strange waking up alone. But over time, I started filling the space with joy. I picked up my paintbrush again, something I hadn't done since nursing school. I painted silly things, sunsets, fruit, even Max in a superhero cape. I laughed more. I smiled without forcing it. One afternoon, while organizing the top shelf of my tiny kitchen, I spotted it. The blender. The very one Logan had wrapped and handed me like a prize while his mother drove off in a brand new SUV. I almost threw it away after I moved, but something had made me keep it. Maybe I needed the reminder. I pulled it down. It still had the sticker on the bottom. With a shrug, I grabbed a cheap bottle of wine from the fridge, something fruity and ridiculous that Jenna had left behind. I unscrewed the cap, poured it in, and let the blender roar to life. The noise filled the room. Loud. Shameless. Just like the pain had once been. I poured the blended wine into a chipped mug and raised it slightly in the air. Cheers to the woman you forgot, Logan, I whispered, a small smile playing at my lips. I remember her now. And I did. I remembered the girl who used to paint, the woman who worked double shifts and never complained, the wife who stayed loyal even when she was treated like an afterthought. I remembered her strength, her warmth, her worth. She'd been buried under years of being ignored, dismissed, and talked over. But now, she had come back louder than ever. Max barked at the noise, tail wagging like he approved of the toast. I sat by the window, sipped my ridiculous wine smoothie, and watched the sun sink over the lake. This peace, this freedom, this version of me, it was worth every broken piece I had to walk through to get here. What about you? Do you think Erica made the right choice by leaving it all behind, or should she have kept trying to fix something that was already broken? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear them. And if you enjoy stories that stir the heart, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.